U.S. President Donald Trump says the U.S. war with Iran is substantially ahead of schedule.
We projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that. We'll do it. Whatever somebody said today, they said, oh, well, the president wants to do it really quickly. After that, he'll get bored. I don't get bored.
Those were Trump's comments at the White House Monday after the U.S. president told CNN that a, quote, big wave of U.S. military action in Iran is looming. Could the length of this war come down to military power, and who has more of it to go the distance? For that, we're joined by Christian Leuprecht. He's a professor at the Royal Military College of Canada and at Queen's University. Good morning.
Good morning.
When Trump is talking about this big wave of military action, what could he be referring to?
Well, he has substantial capabilities because he basically has Iran surrounded in terms of abilities where he can strike, and the capabilities that the U.S. military has in terms of a wide variety of assets. I mean, in the first 24 hours between Israel and the United States, they struck 1,000 targets inside Iran, and that's just using sort of some of the limited first wave capabilities. So there's a lot of opportunity for the U.S. to sustain that. At the same time, of course, Iran will eventually deploy its larger weapons, especially medium-sized missiles, as the U.S. goes after launchers, stores, transport capabilities. But it has a lot of short-range missiles, and it has a lot of drones. And you can see especially those Shahed 107s, those very slow, low-flying drones. Those seem to be particularly problematic for partners in the region to take out.
Let's talk about Iran. According to the Institute for Strategic Studies, Iran's weaponry includes more than 8,000 armored vehicles, more than 4,000 battle tanks, 3,000 ballistic missiles, and more than 300 combat aircraft, and adding to that about 100 warships. When we put that against what the U.S. military has right now in the Gulf, where are the Iranian military's biggest strengths and where are their vulnerabilities?
Yeah, so it's a conversation about mass, but also class. So much of the equipment that Iran has is hopelessly outdated. And so in terms of quality of equipment, it's not particularly a great match. This is why Iran had asymmetric deterrence strategy. And so that asymmetric strategy is the ability, if it decides to build a nuclear weapon, medium range missiles, and of course the financing of militia groups throughout the regions that can strike American partners, in particular Israel. So those are more sort of the deterrence capabilities. But of course, the one element that you don't mention is the important support that Iran has from China. Iran's its oil to China, and in return, it gets significant capabilities. All those capabilities that you hear about restricting the internet and the ability to communicate, those are all companies that have built that out. And how is Iran able to build its medium-range missiles? It's by and large China capabilities that are being provided here. So this is not just a strike on Iran. It is also a strike on Chinese capabilities to continue to wreak havoc, to pin down the Americans so they cannot deploy their assets to the Indo-Pacific to contain China.
With this, and I know it's war, so there's an indiscriminate timeline to begin with. You know, Trump has put in 4 to 5 weeks. There was guarantees. This Netanyahu, I believe yesterday, was saying this won't be many years, but they couldn't give a timeline. When could we expect to see Iran's allies drawn directly into this conflict? And when I say allies, you mentioned China, but there's also North Korea and Russia who have condemned this war in Iran.
Yeah, so I think Trump's strategy, I think, is to, among the requirements that he's laid out in terms of stopping nuclear enrichment, funding proxies throughout the region, and mid-range missiles, Trump is also looking to get his thumb on Iranian oil, the way he has with Venezuelan oil, because that's the way ultimately to constrain China. And so you're absolutely right. One of the medium-term consequences of this is going to be that the countries that are left in terms of trying to overturn the rules-based international order, in particular Russia, China, and North Korea, will end up collaborating more closely. Particularly see as transnational organized criminal activity related to both those countries as sort of an asymmetric capability that will go after Western and democratic interests.
On that topic, indirectly, although it was in Cyprus, there was an attack against Europe in that the RAF base in Cyprus was attacked, the UK-run base there. And last week, 2 former CSIS agents told the Globe and Mail that the agency is working with Western counterparts, trying to prevent attacks by Iran in North America and Europe. We asked the question yesterday whether or not we could see attacks on American soil. How big is the risk of Iran targeting European and North American targets?
That's a great question, because it's not just about the capabilities that Iran has now that it's demonstrating in terms of Cyprus, so the distance and the targeting capabilities, but those missiles that Iran has, they don't just fly towards Israel. They also fly towards Europe, and that Iran is working actively in a long program that within the next 10 years will be able to strike the East Coast, including all the cities, in Canada and the United States. And so the U.S. is also playing ahead here. But certainly there's concern about sleeper cells. Iran has traditionally only deployed those asymmetric capabilities in the region itself and against select targets, in particular those related interests of the Israeli state or to installations related to Jewish interests around the world. It would be interesting if Iran does deploy capability in Europe, in North America, in the United States in terms of sleeper cells. It would be a considerable sort of sea change, and I think it would provoke a very significant reaction from the United States. Let's remember, this is already quite personal, because the Iranian Republican Guard Corps had attempted to target President Trump during the presidential election. So I think this is more than just strategic, that the president very personal interest here.
The president responded to that, saying, talking about the supreme leader, I got him before he could get me. Christian Leuprecht, thank you for joining us this morning.
My pleasure. Thank you, Anne-Marie.
If you like that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.